Okay, so are you like me and constantly craving more harmony in your life, like less chaos, more flow? Who isn't right? That's why we did a deep dive into Genevieve Josephine's A Guide to Harmony.
Hmm.
And let me tell you, it is not your typical self-help book.
Oh, yeah.
This guide actually takes this ancient wisdom
Hmm.
and makes it surprisingly practical, even for our crazy modern lives.
I know. It's so fascinating how she blends all these timeless spiritual principles with
Yeah.
steps you can actually take.
Totally.
Like, she doesn't just tell you to be more loving, which, like, you
Yeah.
hear all the time. She gives you concrete ways to actually live that out day by day.
Totally. And, she starts right off the bat with this concept of ahimsa.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'll admit I had to look that one up.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh.
ahimsa, what is that? But it turns out it's this profound idea of kindness and non-harming, but not in a superficial way. It's about making it your natural way of being.
Exactly. It's not about performing compassion to get, like, brownie points or whatever.
Right.
It's about truly shifting something inside of you.
Yeah.
And the guide really digs into the nuances here. Like, you'd think it would just talk about being kind to others, which of course it does, but then it connects ahimsa to mindful eating.
Well, hold up. Mindful eating as nonviolence.
Right.
How does that even work?
Well, so Josephine argues that every bite we take is connected to this larger web of life. So choosing foods that minimize harm, whether it's being more aware of where your food comes from or even exploring plant-based options,
Hmm.
becomes an act of ahimsa.
Okay, that's really making me rethink my grocery list.
Uh-huh.
It's not about guilt tripping yourself though.
Right.
It's about seeing the ripple effect of even our choices at the dinner table.
Totally.
It's pretty powerful stuff.
It really is. And it sets the tone for like the rest of the guide, this idea that small conscious actions can create big shifts.
Hmm.
And speaking of shifts, the next principle tackles something we all struggle with: time. Specifically, that feeling of never having enough of it.
Ugh, tell me about it. My to-do list is never ending. But Josephine says that when you're truly aligned with your passion, time actually seems to melt away.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced that? Like you're so engrossed in something that hours just disappear.
Yes, absolutely. I think we've all had those moments where we're just in the flow, completely absorbed in what we're doing. And Josephine argues that this happens because we're tapping into our purpose, like our authentic selves.
Hmm.
And when we're in that state, we're not stressing about the clock.
That makes total sense.
Right,
It's not about magically creating more hours in the day.
right.
It's about shifting our focus to what truly lights us up. And the guide even suggests carving out time for those passions,
Right.
even if it's just a few minutes each day. Like, I'd love to write, but I always tell myself I'm too busy. But what if I just committed to just 10 minutes every morning?
That's a great example. And the guide really emphasizes that it doesn't have to be anything grand or complicated. It's about those small, consistent actions that nurture our soul.
Yeah,
Like Josephine says, even a single spark can ignite a fire.
I love that quote.
Okay.
Okay, on to another big one, gratitude. I used to think gratitude was just about saying thank you for the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But this guide takes it way deeper.
Right. Josephine has this amazing line: gratitude is not a wish list for what we lack, but a celebration of the abundance already present.
Ooh, that's going on my inspiration board. It's like instead of constantly wanting more,
Yeah.
we can choose to appreciate what we have right now.
Exactly. And she backs this up with a really interesting point. It's not just about feeling grateful internally, it's about expressing it outwardly too.
Oh.
Whether it's a heartfelt thank you to a loved one or acknowledging the beauty of nature, sharing our gratitude amplifies its power.
I've been trying that lately, just making a conscious effort to express my appreciation more often. And honestly, it feels amazing. It's like a little energy boost, both for me and the person I'm thanking.
It's the ripple effect in action.
Totally.
And Josephine even suggests a specific practice for cultivating this. Bookend your day with gratitude. Take a moment upon waking to appreciate something, anything, and do the same before you fall asleep.
That's such a simple yet powerful habit to build. Okay, this next principle is a little tricky: purity of body and mind. I'm already bracing myself for the whole treat your body like a temple lecture.
Uh-huh. I get it, that phrase can sound a bit preachy.
Right.
But Josephine approaches it from a more nuanced angle. She says, purity is not about striving for an unattainable ideal, but about treating ourselves with the same reverence we would offer a sacred space.
Okay, I can get behind that. It's about respect, not perfection.
Exactly. And she gives some really practical tips, not just the usual eat healthy, exercise stuff.
Right.
She talks about choosing foods that nourish you, ditching toxic habits, and not just the physical ones, but also the mental and emotional patterns that drag us down.
So it's like a holistic cleanse, inside and out.
Yeah.
She even mentions finding what clears your mind.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, it's meditation. For others, it might be hiking in nature or listening to music. It's about discovering what works for you.
I love that she emphasizes personalization.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach to this. It's about finding what truly resonates with you and helps you feel aligned.
All right, ready for a challenge. The next principle is all about truth and integrity.
Ooh.
And I'm already sensing this is going to get deep.
Oh, absolutely. Josephine doesn't shy away from the tough questions here. She asks, is brutal honesty always the best approach, even if it causes pain? What about kindness?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as just blurting out whatever's on your mind.
Mhm.
There's nuance to it.
Exactly. She argues that true integrity is about aligning your actions with your values,
Oh,
even when it's uncomfortable. It's about being honest with yourself and others, but also being mindful of the impact your words and actions have.
so it's like finding that sweet spot between honesty and compassion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not holding back, but also not being needlessly hurtful.
That's a great way to put it. And she challenges us to pay attention to those moments when we're tempted to gossip or judge others.
Yeah.
Can we shift that energy to something more uplifting? That's a question I think we all need to ask ourselves regularly.
It's so easy to get caught up in negativity,
I know.
especially in today's world. But what if we consciously chose to focus on the good, to speak words of kindness and encouragement instead? What kind of impact could that have?
That's a powerful question to ponder,
Yeah.
and it leads perfectly into the next principle, which is all about rest and reflection. Something I think we could all use a little more of in our go, go, go world.
Oh, totally.
Shall we dive into that in part 2?
Let's do it. I'm already feeling more zen just thinking about it.
Rest and reflection.
Yeah.
It's funny, right? We all crave it, but then we feel so guilty when we actually allow ourselves to slow down.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's like we're programmed to be on all the time, like 24/7. And Josephine calls this rest guilt.
Oh, yeah.
And she says it's like a major obstacle to harmony.
Yeah, I mean, our culture glorifies busyness.
Totally.
It's like a badge of honor to be constantly running around stressed out.
Right.
But, Josephine reminds us that rest is not a reward for hard work. It's like an essential part of a balanced life.
That's true. I needed to hear that. So it's not about being lazy.
No.
It's about giving ourselves permission to recharge, to reconnect with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What I find fascinating is that she doesn't just say take a nap.
Right.
She really emphasizes the reflection part of it.
Absolutely. She talks about how important it is to regularly step back from the whirlwind of daily life and examine our thoughts, our actions, our choices. It's like taking a mental inventory, asking ourselves, am I living in alignment with my values? What needs to shift?
I'm seeing a pattern here. It's all about those small,
Yes.
intentional shifts, right?
Lovely.
It's not about some massive overhaul of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's about those little tweaks that create a ripple effect.
You got it. And
Huh.
for the reflection part, she suggests a bunch of different practices, journaling, meditation, even just a few minutes of quiet contemplation before bed. It's about finding what works for you.
Right.
What helps you quiet your mind and connect with your inner wisdom.
Yeah, it's like hitting the pause button on autopilot. So we
Mhm.
can actually choose how we want to move forward. Okay, on to a principle that always warms my heart.
Mm.
Giving freely without expectation.
Mm.
I've always believed in the power of generosity,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's hard to shake that feeling of, what am I getting out of this?
I think that's natural.
Yeah.
We're conditioned to think in terms of transactions, quid pro quo.
Right.
But Josephine challenges us to approach giving from a place of pure abundance, not scarcity.
She says, true generosity is an overflowing cup, not a carefully measured teaspoon. I love that imagery.
It's a good one.
It's not about begrudgingly giving the bare minimum.
Right.
It's about letting our hearts lead the way.
Exactly. And she even provides a practical challenge. Perform one act of kindness daily, no matter how small. Oh, I like that.
It could be complimenting a stranger, helping a neighbor, donating to a cause you believe in.
It's funny. I was on the train the other day, and this elderly woman was struggling with her bags.
Oh,
I helped her get them onto the train, and honestly, it made my whole day.
that's great.
It was such a small thing, but it felt so good to offer a helping hand.
That's a perfect example. It highlights another point Josephine makes.
Okay.
It's not just about giving material things. It's about offering our time, our energy, our compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a listening ear or a kind word can be the most valuable gift of all.
Okay, I am so ready to declutter my life.
Uh-huh.
Josephine's next principle is all about simplicity and moderation. And honestly, this is one I struggle with like big time. I'm a bit of a maximalist. I love
Yeah.
collecting things, experiences, ideas, but sometimes it feels like I'm drowning in stuff.
I hear ya. Our modern world just like bombards us with choices.
Messages telling us we need more, more, more. But Josephine reminds us that true happiness isn't found in accumulation. It's found in simplicity.
She says, simplify your life, not to deprive yourself, but to make space for what truly matters. I love that reframe. It's not about becoming a minimalist monk.
Right.
It's about choosing quality over quantity, about creating a life that feels spacious and aligned with our values.
Totally. And she gives some really practical tips for this.
Okay.
She encourages us to declutter our physical spaces, our homes, our wardrobes, our desks. But she also talks about simplifying our mental and emotional landscapes.
So like letting go of those nagging worries,
Yeah.
those limiting beliefs that hold us back.
Exactly. And she suggests a really simple but powerful exercise.
Yeah.
Pick one area of your life that feels particularly cluttered and simplify it. Could be your inbox, your schedule, your social media feeds. Notice how it feels to release that excess, to create more space for what you truly value.
Okay, that's totally doable. I'm thinking maybe I'll start with my phone. I spend way too much time scrolling through social media, comparing myself to others. What if I just deleted a few apps, created some boundaries around my phone use?
That's a great place to start. And it leads perfectly into the next principle, which is all about connection without attachment. Have you ever felt suffocated in a relationship, even one you cherish?
Oh yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
It's like you want to be close, but you also need your space, your own identity. And Josephine says this struggle often stems from our need to control, to cling tightly to people and outcomes.
She has this incredible insight. True love is not a chain that binds, but a garden where hearts bloom freely. It's about letting go of our expectations, of the need to change or fix others.
So it's not about avoiding relationships. It's about approaching them with a different mindset,
Yes.
one that allows for freedom and growth.
Exactly. And she emphasizes the importance of active listening. Truly hearing and understanding the other person without judgment or the need to interject our own opinions.
You know, I've been trying to practice that more lately, just really focusing on what the other person is saying, trying to see things from their perspective. And honestly, it's made a huge difference in my relationships. It's like when you let go of the need to control the conversation,
Yeah.
you create space for deeper connection.
It's amazing how powerful that can be, and it leads perfectly into the final principle, which is probably the most challenging of them all. Letting go of control and trusting the flow of life.
Ooh, this is a big one,
I know, right?
especially for those of us who like to be in charge, who like to have a plan. But Josephine argues that surrendering to the flow is actually an act of courage, of deep trust.
It's about acknowledging that we don't have all the answers, that there is a greater intelligence at work guiding us towards our highest good.
You know, I used to resist this idea of letting go. I thought it meant giving up, admitting defeat.
Yeah.
But Josephine reframes it as an act of radical acceptance, of opening ourselves to possibilities we couldn't have imagined on our own. She even calls it the ultimate trust fall.
That's a great analogy. And she provides some practical steps for cultivating this trust. She encourages us to release the need to control outcomes, both in our own lives and in the lives of others.
That's a tough one,
Yes.
especially when it comes to the people we love.
Huh.
We want to protect them from pain to ensure their happiness.
Yeah.
But, you know, Josephine reminds us that sometimes the best thing we can do is let go, to trust that they have their own journey to walk, their own lessons to learn.
Absolutely. And she emphasizes the importance of trusting in divine timing. Things don't always happen according to our plan, and that can be frustrating.
I know.
But she encourages us to see those delays and challenges as opportunities for growth, as part of a bigger picture that we can't always comprehend.
So it's not about passively accepting whatever life throws at us. It's about actively choosing to trust that everything is unfolding as it should, even when it doesn't make sense in the moment.
Exactly. And she suggests some really helpful practices like affirmations, visualization, prayer. It's about consciously choosing to trust, even when it feels scary, even when we don't have all the answers.
Wow. I'm feeling so inspired by all of this. But I'm also wondering, how do we know if it's working?
Hmm.
Like, how do we know if we're actually raising our vibration, creating more harmony in our lives?
That's a great question, and it's one that Josephine addresses directly in the final chapter. Shall we dive into that in part 3?
Absolutely. I'm ready to wrap this up and see what final gems of wisdom Josephine has to offer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've really been on quite the journey here with Genevieve Josephine's A Guide to Harmony, from Ahimsa to letting go of control, like it's jam-packed with so much wisdom.
Yeah.
It's almost overwhelming, but like
Uh-huh.
in a good way.
Definitely. I mean, we've really explored these principles in depth, but the real magic happens
Right.
when we start applying it to our own lives.
Exactly.
And, that's what Josephine addresses in this final chapter.
Yeah, she asked this really thought-provoking question. What does raising your vibration actually feel like?
Right.
And then how do you even know if it's working?
Right.
And I got to be honest with you, I was stumped for a minute. It's not like you can just measure your vibration on a scale.
Right. It's like this internal shift,
Right.
a subtle but really profound change in how we experience like everything around us. And Josephine actually describes it as feeling lighter, more joyful, more connected to ourselves and just everything around us.
Yeah, and she says when your vibration is high, life flows with ease, synchronicities abound, and you attract experiences that align with your highest good. So it's almost like you become a magnet for all the good stuff.
Exactly. And, she emphasizes that there's no one right answer to the question of how do I know it's working?
Yeah.
For some people, it might manifest as like this deep sense of peace. For others, it might be a surge of creativity or like a renewed passion for life. It's different for everyone.
And she even suggests, like, paying attention to your physical body. Like, did you feel energized,
Yeah.
grounded? Are you sleeping better? All of these could be signs that your vibration is shifting in a positive direction.
Yeah. It's so fascinating how she connects these things that you wouldn't think go together, our thoughts, our emotions, our physical well-being, and shows how they all contribute to our overall vibration.
It's like a reminder that we're not just like a collection of separate parts. We're like this intricate, interconnected system. And when we start aligning those parts, when we start living in accordance with like these principles of love, integrity, and surrender, our whole being vibrates at a higher frequency.
And that higher frequency has a ripple effect, not just on our own lives, but on the world around us.
Right.
Josephine says, when you raise your vibration, you become a beacon of light, inspiring others to do the same.
Oh my gosh, that gives me chills. It's like we each have this power to create positive change just by choosing to live in a more harmonious way.
Right. And the beautiful thing is, it doesn't require some massive effort or sacrifice. It's about those small, consistent actions that we've been talking about throughout this whole deep dive.
Yeah, like starting each day with gratitude, making time for the things that light us up, offering kindness to ourselves and others, letting go of the need to control those are all like simple yet profound ways to raise our vibration and create a more harmonious world, both within and around us.
It's definitely a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs, times when we fall out of alignment.
Oh, for sure.
But the key is to just keep coming back to these principles, to keep practicing, to keep trusting the process.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into A Guide to Harmony, we'll leave you with this challenge.
Mm.
What does raising your vibration feel like to you? How can you incorporate these principles into your daily life, even in small ways?
Hmm.
And what's like one step you can take today to shift your energy, to create more harmony within yourself and ripple that out into the world?
Keep seeking, keep exploring, keep trusting. That path to harmony is always unfolding before you.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. Until next time, keep diving deep.